in your packets, but before I actually get into this, so as Daniel referred to, we are slowly losing our Title I status, okay? When I first started here, we were about 68, between 68 70%. If you're between 65 and 100% Title I, which there are many schools that are like 99 or even 100% Title I schools, they get a really big budget. They get $750 per student, per Title I student, okay? So I always refer to my previous school, Saturn. They got, $600,000 a year as far as a budget, okay? To contrast that, we get about $100,000, okay? If you're between 50 and 65% Title, 50 and 64% Title I, you get approximately $500 per student, okay? This year we're being held harmless because we dipped under 50%. So for this year we're going to get about $350 a student as opposed to the $750, okay? And then next year, if our Title I numbers, or the following year, if our Title I numbers don't go up, we're going to get zero funding, okay? So we're going to get zero budgets, okay? So in a sense, we're losing about $100,000, okay, which we use to pay for Katie's position, we use to pay for teacher's assistants, we use to pay for after-school tutoring, we use to pay for field trips, the copier costs, instructional materials, general supplies, which basically covers all like the pencils, crayons, workbooks, anything that gets used up during the year and has to be replenished, copy paper, all that stuff, okay? So the Title I money is very specific. It has to be used for certain student populations, and it's very restricted as to what you can purchase out of it. So that part of it is kind of like, well, if we lose Title I funding, at least we have a little more liberty as to what we can buy. The problem is going to be making up that money. Okay, so that's like an extra $100,000 that we need to get funded from somewhere. Okay, hence we're going to turn to booster or corporate sponsorships or more fundraising ideas to try to recoup that money, to try to keep everything as is. Okay, next year we're set to lose one of our TAs. Okay, I'm not going to tell you who yet because I haven't told that person yet. But we already cannot afford a TA. Much of the field trips that were kind of partially funded, where booster paid for some, the school was able to pay for some. That's going to be gone. So basically all we can fund next year are Katie's position, the coordinator, and after-school tutoring. We're still going to have that, although the pot of money will be a little bit less. So it might not be all K through 6 that might get it. The copier, general supplies, that's pretty much it. Okay, so no field trips out of our budgets, no TAs out of our budgets. Already we're looking to booster, and I guess Pam will talk a little bit about that more today, and then you guys will vote on that next month to keep those things in place. Okay. So there is a balance out of the strike. Oh, and I see Bree coming over, so I'm not going to say too much about it. But basically, what happened during the strike? Superintendent Buhner said, "Okay, I'm going to dump all the money, all the reserve, all the money we have. Okay, we're going to give it all to the teachers. Okay. Now it's like now we need to raise more money." And that was in hopes that more money would come to the school district through either the governor or parcel taxes or through the voters to replenish that money, okay? So on the June ballot, there's a measure called Measure EE, okay? And it's specifically for that. It's the only thing on the ballot, okay? There's one thing on there, Measure EE, and you either vote yes or no. Bree, there you are, come on in. I was trying to warm up the crowd for you.
I brought flyers for everyone. You just want to pass them around. So just a little bit about why Measure EE was put on the ballot. As everyone knows, there was a recent strike where a lot of demands were made and they have to be met. So what Measure EE will do to help those demands as far as reducing class sizes, making sure schools have librarians, support staff, such as full-time nurses, and things of that matter, Measure EE was placed on the ballot. It is a parcel tax for people who live in LAUSD territory. It is a 16 cents per square foot of enhancements on your property. So not the property itself, but the buildings. And it's for commercial and residential. This is only, if you live in LAUSD territory, you're the only ones who are able to vote. I realize that some parents don't live in the exact territory of LAUSD, so they wouldn't be able to vote on this measure. And I'm really here just to answer questions from all of you. I know that how the money will be spent, we just kind of found out about this. The board decided that there should be an oversight committee with, it's gonna have its own independent auditor. And so what's gonna happen is the $500 million a year that it's supposed to garner for the school district will be spread out through that way. And it's supposed to give students $750 to $800 per student for each school. And schools are supposed to get money based on how many students they have. So it's not based on like Title I or things like that. Everybody gets money. It's not like, schools are being left out of this. So I know people don't want us, yes.
Is there a way we can phone bank, or there organizations set up to do outreach?
So you can through the school district because that's completely separate, but there are yes and no campaigns for Measure EE. There's a yes campaign and they have their own website, which is separate. I can't give that to you, but it's easy to find.
it and email.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And there'll be a lot of people who are like, well, how are more parents gonna find out and things of that nature. So what's gonna happen is that the Yes campaign has a bunch of money to do commercials and things like that, so that's gonna be pushed through. But our job through the school district is just to make sure that you're informed on the nuts and bolts and what's gonna happen.
It's yesonte.org.
Thank you.
Any more
I'll host a
questions?
phone banking as we get closer. We'll sit around and.
Great, thank you.
Great.
Is it for homeowners and renters?
So the renters are probably gonna end up paying because the person who owns that building is gonna have to pay a tax, so it could increase rent, but it depends on the square footage of the property itself. So it will in some way, shape, or form fall on renters.
It could.
It will probably be passed through.
Pass down to the renters. So if you have a 2,000 square foot house, you're looking at about $350
A year.
a year. Okay, for the next 12 years, that's going to generate $5 million. And at that going rate, that's $250,000 for our school.
Billion.
Sorry, $5 billion.
Yeah.
Is it billion?
You said,
That was
Is it
$500
million?
million.
500 million, sorry. And it's $250,000 for our school, just based on the 340 kids we have. So that's already a lot more than what we get. That's twice our normal budget that we get from the federal and state.
And also, everything on this paper, it's in the proposition that it has to be spent on this. This cannot be taken by state or federal government. And so, the great thing about it too, with the auditor that they have, there has to be annual reports put out, so where you see where every dime goes. So that's what's
And
really
it's for
important.
12 years, how long?
12 years.
So we'll be set for all our kids.
But when do the schools start getting the money?
January of next year. That's
Wow.
as soon as January of next year, but for sure the next school year.
Which is the first property tax that would go on?
Okay, I have these exact numbers in my phone. I just want to make sure that I'm giving you guys the right information.
This is through all of LA County, right? So including all cities.
No, USC.
Oh, only, okay.
Okay, I will say this so you do know. The money's supposed to follow the student. So if there's a student who lives in LAUSD territory but they go to a charter school, that charter school has the ability to apply for that money for that student. So that is like but predominantly most of the money will go to LAUSD schools. But I do want people to know that as well, because you know where all the money goes.
What if they go to a private school?
No, it has to be for public schools only. And taxes will be collected as early as December 2019.
Wow.
What if you don't have children?
And who controls the money?
So they're going to have, because it's a ballot proposition, it has to be separate. The money can't go like into the general fund or things like that. So they want to create an oversight committee that is going to be over it. How that is going to be done is up in the air. But the independent auditor that they have is supposed to be the one that delegates the money where everything goes, and the oversight committee is supposed to give recommendations to where all the money should be going. But everyone is supposed to get money based on students. So and it's supposed to go for making sure you guys have support staff, better classes for arts and STEM, athletics, things like that. So, yeah. I know it's a little bit up in the air with the oversight committee, and we're finding out more. Like literally, we just found out about how the structure will be a couple of days ago, and they pushed this out 2 weeks ago. So they're moving fast. They just want to make sure, again, that they're able to meet the demands of the strike, as well as making sure that schools are properly funded.
So does that mean we will get like a supplemental property tax bill before the end of the year? Or is it already accounted for in the, like, the last quarter?
No, because that's my vote for next year.
Is it for next year? So how
But
does it
it's like
start getting
December.
funded on
They start
January of
collecting
2000?
December 2019 of this year. And then they will start so they'll be able to start, they want to start passing out funds by
Before they
January.
start collecting the.
So it shouldn't be a supplemental, then if it's coming out in December, it should be on your December tax bill. It
Yeah.
should not be a supplemental, unless they don't get it together enough in time to do it. Because taxes are due in December.
They're really
and then-
pushing
Yeah,
us
and then,
through.
and then April, right?
Yeah, yesterday.
Okay, so it'd be, yeah, yesterday. So it'd be, okay, December.
So hopefully, this passes, we just won't, well, I'm not supposed to say, sorry. Hopefully everyone goes out to vote and is civically engaged. We're not promoting a yes or a no vote, we just want people engaged. Actually, so if a school is ADA compliant and has proper space, a school is supposed to be, your local school is supposed to be a polling place.
Our auditorium is always a polling place for like every election, so yes.
Oh, great. So that'll be June 4th?
Yes.
But sorry, that you would vote in where your home is, at the local
Yes.
polling station, not.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
There'll probably be something going home in the mail that's gonna tell you where, just like any other vote.
There's a
you know,
lot of information that's
They'll
gonna
tell
be
you
pushed out.
where you're supposed to, where you individually are supposed to vote.
Especially after spring break, there's gonna be a big push, so.
Is this a vote by mail thing too? Is that-
Yes.
Okay.
You'll get your ballots. Okay, so May 20th is the last day to register. We have a PowerPoint presentation that has all this.
A lot of this
It says the
information's in
week-
your packet already.
Week of May 6th for vote by mail ballots.
Yeah, okay.